Hello and welcome to the Nano Film Improv Podcast. I'm Dave Heron. This podcast is about my trials and tribulations associated with improv comedy and doing it, performing it, rehearsing it. So this is really a cathartic outpouring of the things that I've learnt, the things that I'm struggling with, and an opportunity to share with you and hear from you also some of the things that have worked for you, and equally there'll be some things on this podcast that you have tried that don't work for you. It's all very subjective. My experience level is, well, I've had a few years experience doing improv. I've taught a bit of improv. I've performed with a whole range of exciting and talented improvisers and learnt from sets that have gone well and sets that haven't gone well. And this is all part of an evolution for me as well. So you're very welcome in joining me on this podcast. So this week I wanted to talk about my challenges with coming on into a scene from the backline. I've run a couple of workshops recently where I've tried to develop my thinking with other improvisers in terms of opportunities to come onto a stage and enhance a scene from the backline. So by backline, I mean those improvisers who are on the stage, but they are standing either left or right or at the back of the stage. They're not actually in the immediate scene, but they are part of the performance. And at any stage, they could come on to support the improvisers on the stage itself. So historically, I've had challenges around coming on from the back line. I felt a little constrained, and by that I mean I've not known when to come on to the stage. I've struggled a little bit. I've got better over time, knowing the opportunities to enhance what the characters need on stage, but historically have struggled a little bit of knowing when to come on. That's also counterbalanced with a number of articles and a number of, things online where improvisers have spoke about their feeling that certain dominant improvisers that they might be performing with are always stepping on stage first. So I'm very acutely aware of that context and how some improvisers feel. I'm not going to go into that now. Safe to say that it's usually about a certain demographic of improvisers stepping on stage. What I would say is possibly myself fitting into that demographic is I am acutely aware of when I step on stage. I'm also acutely aware of when I have stepped on stage first. Personally, my natural inkling is to let others go on stage first, and then I can come on to support. That's actually my natural bent, if you will, to wait for others to get on stage. They go on first, and then I come on to support. However, I am also schooled in the approach of a stage should not be empty. And if you don't come onto the stage, then I will have to. And there's probably about 2 or 3 seconds before I do that. But any longer than that, it looks uncertain. It gives the sense, I think, that the improvisers are nervous or shy. And I think that then it starts to eat away at the confidence that the audience might have with the improvisers. So I'm constantly weighing up whether I should go on first or whether there's someone else who's going to step on for me. But I've been schooled by Maria Peters at one of the Hoopla classes. One of the first Hoopla classes I did was with Maria Peters, and it was amazing. But Maria Peters was excellent in this class at chastising improvisers for not coming on stage immediately when the scene starts, or indeed when a scene has started and there is a need for other improvisers to come and support what is on the stage. She was very much of the opinion in this course that a stage should not be left empty for a period of time. So that is something I've historically battled with, trying to strike the balance between not dominating and coming on every time, but equally not leaving an empty stage. And I personally will err towards not leaving an empty stage. And that has tended to serve me relatively well so far, but it's continuous. It's always present whenever I'm on stage, that thought. And the other thing that is continuously in my mind, present, front and foremost in my mind, is whether there is a need for me to actually be on stage. Now, of course, when I first started doing improv, of course I wanted to be on the stage all the time. And if I wasn't on stage, then I was thinking, oh, people have come to see me. Here's my opportunity to show off what I can do. But it had a tendency to almost ruin scenes when I jumped on stage. So I've been very present of mind until recently, thinking, does the scene need me? But that thinking changed when I went recently to a workshop run by Liz Allen. Liz Allen, if you're not familiar, is a wonderful improviser from across the pond, and she has been doing it for decades. She's part of Improv Olympic. She has run shows for the Second City. So this was pretty much a once in a lifetime opportunity to do a workshop with an incredible improviser and teacher. And her class, I can't remember the title of it, but essentially it was all focused on how can you come on from the back line and what are the things you should be thinking about and why should you be coming on from the back line. Now, I won't start giving away sort of some of Liz's secrets, I was going to say. They're not secrets. But if you want to know more, then obviously go and look up Liz online or join a course or workshop that she's running. But safe to say, it changed the way that I start to think about coming on stage, from what does the scene need to what do the improvisers need. And that subtlety has been an incredible turning point for me. And that's also helped me to reduce the ego, which tells me in my head, oh, you should go on stage now because that's a funny point. That scene needs that, or the audience need to see something funny or something dramatic. I've changed that to now be constantly looking at what the improvisers are doing on stage and being mindful and present of mind to think, what do they need? What do those characters need on stage that will enhance their relationship and what they're trying to do? And so this class that I did with Liz opened my eyes to the fact that the backline is so much more than a walk-on of a character. It's encouraged me to think far more widely about the different things that the backline can do. The variety that the backline can provide to a scene. And that can be anything, absolutely anything that enhances the relationship of the characters on stage. And more, of course. There's no right or wrong in improv. You can still step on and add in a bit of background action. And by that I mean a little bit of object work. You can still come on and do a little bit of object work in the background to enhance the environment. So if, for example, the scene is set in a cafe, you could be a waiter coming in and cleaning tables, not interacting with the characters, but just enhancing the location. It could be walk on and walk off. It could be sound effects. It could be group chorus together. Recently, I ran a teaching workshop on the backline, and I can't remember exactly what the scene was about, but in effect, one of the characters on stage, I think, had killed somebody. And all of a sudden, the back line started off very quietly, murderer, murderer, murderer. And more people on the back line joined in. Now, we had a back line, I should add for context, a back line of about 12 people. And this again was taken from the Liz Allen class as well. So you had safety in numbers on the back line. You weren't just stepping in on your own. And that chorus effect of people quietly saying murderer, murderer, made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. So, in effect, the back line can do anything to enhance what the characters on stage need, from walk on, walk off, object work, an inner monologue, a chorus work, It can be anything. It can come on to mime and action. The class itself, run by Liz, completely opened my eyes to this, and it is something I've been far more present of mind to do in all my scenes now, and has really helped to enhance it. There's still a lot more work to do, and actually I like the idea of warming up as a backline as well, because every so often I can be in a performance and forget actually that the backline's ability to influence is unlimited. So one of the things I do want to do more regularly is warm up as a backline group. That sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? And I still haven't worked out exactly what context you would do that in, but I guess if you were at a jam, maybe group warm-ups together and thinking about ideas to step on stage. So maybe if you're running a group warm-up for a number of acts before a show, maybe there's a bit of freeze tag and then everyone else is the back line and steps in and adds in. I don't know, I've yet to develop those ideas, but I think reminding myself of the pretty much unlimited options for a backline is something I'd like to work on and develop going forward. The final thing I'll note on this is I've also historically thought when I see a two-person scene, oh, they don't need me. Or I don't want to come on stage because this is their two-person scene. This is their moment. I don't want to distract from it. When we had the Liz Allen class, someone asked that question specifically about that. And the answer that Liz gave was just agree beforehand with two-person scenes in your group. Are they strictly two-person scenes? Or are they scenes where people can step in from the back line to enhance what the improvisers have on stage already? So clarifying that within your group, whether two-person scenes are strictly two-person scenes or whether they can be enhanced from the backline is something you may wish to do. But that's something I've always been stuck with in the past, is worrying that those two people on stage, that's their moment and I can't ruin it, is something that I probably need to think about going forward. So how do you think about the backline? Do you have similar worries when you've stepped on stage? Do you think about these different things? Are there any tricks or tips that you think about that, I guess, get your mind thinking about stepping on stage from the backline? I'd be really keen to hear the kind of things that you've applied and see whether they work for you or whether there's still a bit of a work in progress. So thanks very much for listening to the Nano Film Improv podcast, and I'll catch you in the next one.